When I first got ill when I was 14, I was schizophrenic. That was my identity, that was who I was. We used to get what was called occupational therapy, but it wasn't like proper therapy or anything. What we used to have to do was make jigsaws with jigsaw pieces, then glue them together. You're seen as a schizophrenic first, rather than the person behind the label, and you're never given any opportunity to grow as a person. But even these days, at occupational therapy, you're still told what time the group starts. You've got to be there. I mean, God's help you if you're late. And you have to still ask permission to go to the toilet. Nobody said to me, well, why don't you want to do it? You know, what's the problem? I wasn't interested. I thought it was boring. I thought it was rubbish.
When I was in the day centre, I used to get more depressed because we only had like drafts or chess to play. That was the whole day really, and drinking tea. And I'd be sitting there with people who were a lot sicker than I was, a lot older than I was, and they'd be, I can only say, like going off their heads and stuff like that, you know, so it didn't do me any good at all really. But the people there who ran it were friendly enough, but I don't think they had enough money or something to do any activities, you know. And the whole place was filled with smoke, like I don't smoke, and it was filled with smoke. And we had tea and coffee, and that's what we done all day, like for like 5 or 6 hours, like just doing that. And I had no choice about going to the day centre. My support worker came to me one day and said, we've got a place for you at the day centre, and that was it. He said, I'll pick you up whatever time it was and drop you off and you make it on my own. So I went there, because there's nothing else for me to do really, because there's no other options. No one said to me, well, do this, do that. He said, just do this, and that's all there was to it, you know, so I had to do it. Well, that's why I had to do it. But in the state I was in, like, I just did it, you know, so just to keep them happy. So. When I was first given a choice about what I wanted to do, I felt really apprehensive and frightened, you know. Because I said, I've never had that early ease in my illness, you know, I was always told what to do all the time. So when I was first asked what I wanted to do, I didn't know what to say, you know, I was lost. But the people in mainstream, as I said, they were very friendly, and they helped and guided me through it, you know, so I got through it all right. When I was in the day centres, I never made any friends really. I don't think the people there made friends, because I think what it is, not the people who work in the day centres, but the higher ups, I don't know what to call the government ministers or whatever. I think they think if you've got a mental health problem, it's all the same. If you've got schizophrenia, depression or manic depression, whatever you've got, they treat it exactly the same. So they just lump it in this day centre, leave you there, and it's like you get on with it. But everybody's different, you know. Each illness is really different from the other illness, and no two people are the same, so it just didn't work. I think the main difference between mainstream and daycare centres is that the daycare centres, the people who work there didn't really care about you. Whereas the mainstream, like, they communicate with me, I see them most weeks, and they phone me up and ask me how I'm doing, and I can phone them up anytime I like, you know, and they tell me problems. But I couldn't do that in the day centres, you know, that's why I didn't like them. You know. I think if I had stayed in the day centre, I would have like vegetated, I probably would have turned out worse than I was originally, you know. Because I said I suffered from depression, and I used to get like more depressed when I was there than when I was at home, you know, just lying in bed. I think mainstream is the way forward in mental health, because as I was saying, the day centres are not good, in my opinion, they're not good at all. Where mainstream, they do everything so different from the day centre, it really helps the people with mental illnesses like myself, you know. If I look back 6 months ago, I couldn't imagine that I'd be doing anything that I'm doing now. So like, as I said, I'm getting married in next November, and I'm starting a cookery course tomorrow, you know, a vegetarian cooking, and hopefully I'm going to do a cake decorating course. And I can sort down to mainstream, they give me the confidence to go out and do this. And I'm glad I was referred to mainstream, because it's totally changed my life, you know. Because I said, like, I'm getting out more now, I've got more confidence, I'm doing a lot more things. And if it wasn't for mainstream, I think I'd still be like in a depressive state, you know, all the time, and staying in bed and not answering the phone and stuff like that. So I'm glad that I've been referred to them.
Since I've been involved in mainstream, my life's changed completely. I no longer feel that I'm this schizophrenic person. I feel like I'm a woman who has schizophrenia, like as a secondary part of me, rather than all the time I was brought up When I first got ill when I was 14 to when I started with mainstream, I was schizophrenic. That was my identity. That was who I was. And when I was in hospital for the first time, we used to do what was called industrial therapy every morning, which involved sitting on a big table in a row and putting tops on bottles, like screwing them on. And we used to get paid something like £2 a week for it. And then as well as that, we used to get what was called occupational therapy, but it wasn't like proper therapy or anything. What we used to have to do was make jigsaws with jigsaw pieces, then glue them together, and that was it. With the traditional methods of psychiatric care, occupational therapy and stuff like that, you're seen as a schizophrenic first rather than the person behind the label, and you're never given any opportunity to grow as a person. Well, if you go to day unit or whatever, you sat in a square room with all these hospital chairs. You can't just pull up a chair and have a chat, because you sat like in other people's home. You sat like that and you're treated like that. So at the Royal, we used to have to get there for like 9 o'clock and stuff to do exercises. So after I'd been a couple of times and I got fed up with it, I used to be late. And I used to get bollocked because they wouldn't start until everybody was there on time. All these old people, like in the 60s and 70s, would be like, they'd always be on time, they do exactly what they're told, when they're told, they always take their medication, they behave themselves. And you'd have to sit there and do all these stupid exercises before you even started. You'd all go into the room together, you'd all sit there like little children at school, and, behaving yourself. Then you go into the next room, or it just pisses me off. But even these days, at occupational therapy, you're still told what time the group starts. You've got to be there. I mean, God help you if you're late. And you have to still ask permission to go to the toilet. And they still have a certain time where they go to certain cafes for a drink. And it's still the same old feeling. So that's why mainstream's so different, because you're not treated like that. You're treated like you're a person, you've got human rights. Mainstream staff treat me as an equal, and they treat me like I am intelligent, but they ask me my opinion on things rather than telling me what to do. And my confidence has just soared since I first got involved, because I think it was last Easter or sometime, Olga was asking me did I want to do some talks at Southport College about self-harm and schizophrenia. And the first time I did it, I was really nervous and I kept my head down and everything because I was all embarrassed. But then I got a load of confidence because people were interested in what I was saying. They weren't just like saying, oh, she's a piece of whatever. She's this person has got a story to tell. And being with Olga and everybody else and going photographing and doing the talks at the college just really helped my self-esteem grow, and I grew as a person. All the time I've been given a choice of where I want to go, what I want to do, and I'm allowed to talk about what I want to talk about.
I did attend a day centre 10 years ago, and it was mainly group therapy. It was a very insulated environment. When Fiona said, and the placement officer first put me in touch with mainstream, I wasn't sure, but I met them and they told me that they help people with mental health needs to access the wider community, and I wasn't exactly sure what that meant, but they talked more about it, and I thought it would be a very good idea. I had to move forward. I couldn't stay where I was. I knew I had to make that first leap, as it were, into the outside world, to become more integrated, and to become more involved with, society. So I was scared initially, but I knew I had to bite the bullet, as it were. I made a list of things I was interested in, and so I decided to do the fencing group and the dancing. Since I've started doing them, my inner mental state has changed. I've become more looking more interested in other people. I'd much rather be involved with mainstream than be in a day centre, because the thing is about a day centre, it tends to be quite an insular environment, whereas a mainstream you're out and about and you're involved with things, and apart from anything else, I've moved on since I was at Scarisbrick Centre. That's well over 10 years ago now, and I've been at Dove, and that's a little bit less insular, more involved with the community, and going to mainstream was a step further to become even more involved and become more integrated. I'd like to get a job in maybe the art field in some way, perhaps illustrating. The way I see my future is I'd like to get a good job. I'd like to form a relationship, perhaps get married. I've never had any relationships, and I've been very shy in the past. But that's something which is that's gradually improving. The thing that I value most that mainstream has given me is my confidence and to have some self-worth. You know, to realise that I am a good person. I've got a lot to offer the world. I have many abilities and talents, and mainstream has helped me to uncover parts of my character that I wouldn't have known.